That's right, monkey. Clear my head.
What do you take? The Frankenstein shit, the deer shit, the green monster, the bling, and the bling bling. And I want you to roll it all into one joint.
No one's ever been brave enough to try that.
One man is. Roll it.
Roll it. I'll smoke it with you, bro. We'll go to the loony bin together. I don't give a fuck.
Oh, fellas, sorry. I guess I should finish cleaning the pool.
What the
What you want, hun?
All right, Peter. So, could you just tell us a little bit about yourself as a child? What was the young Peter Dante like?
Wow. Well, I was the youngest of 5 for 13 years of my life, growing up in Hartford, West Hartford, Connecticut. So, interesting upbringing. By the time their parents are up to the 5th kid, they're a little bit like you, sort of do what you want a little bit, while also I had to start working when I was 11. That was a trip. I literally worked with both my brothers as a landscaper, and that was funny because being 11, 12 years old, working in the summertime, hot and humid in Connecticut, they would have me fill up the wheelbarrows full of like rocks or mulch or whatever, and then they'd be like, okay, now wheel it down the hill. And 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10, I'd get like 5 feet and crash, and the shit would fall out, and they'd be like, yeah, clean it up. And you're like, okay. You try to tell them, to fuck off, but you can't, because then you get your ass beat. So it was interesting. Then when I was 13, my little sister came into the world. And so then it was really on for me to have fun. That's when I kind of had promised my mom, Mom, I'll never drink, I'll never do anything, to get in trouble, blah, blah, blah. And by the time I was 14, 15, I ate those words pretty hard. I was, going to the library during the week to study or hang out with my friends, not at the library. Just typical teenager, I guess. When my son Jake sees this, he'll understand why he likes to have so much fun. And my younger one, Lucas, will probably be like, Daddy, I was a better kid than you. Yes, you were, Lucas. You were a better kid than me. But it was fun. My upbringing was good, man. I, having 5 brothers and sisters, I had 3 sisters, 2 brothers. The girls and me, I, got along well with them. I raised my little sister. She hung out with me and my friends, like, literally while we would party in the basement. She'd be down there with her, like her little bottle with apple juice in it. But basic upbringing was like a kid who played sports, I started doing musicals when I was 8 years old. Since my mom had so many kids, she dropped me off at the community center one day. And I was, I think, 8. And they were like doing a musical in there, and I could sing already because I was in choir in the elementary school. And I went in and was like, hey, can I join this thing? And the director, Haig Shaverdi, and I remember him very well. I was like, yeah, sure. And ended up starting my acting career, basically, which, unbeknownst to me, would become my job way back when, doing musicals and singing on stage. I even got to play Franklin Delano Roosevelt in Annie as a little kid, so they had to spray paint my hair gray, and I got to wheel around in a wheelchair, and be like, the only thing you have to fear is fear itself. I was like, no, I had no clue what I was doing, Then, I did it after high school. Through high school, I was a pretty good kid, in and out of trouble. I would say being lucky to be captain of the football team and lacrosse team, sometimes when I'd get in trouble, I wouldn't get in trouble, which was odd, but probably should have, could have used the slap on the wrist maybe a little sooner in life, I guess, with certain things, but it was cool. I had a good balance of stuff going on in my life, with basically, by the time I was a senior in high school, I was in the solo choir, captain of the lacrosse team, captain of the football team, and I distinctly remember we were like 15-0 in lacrosse, and I had a commitment to go away to sing in the like choir national championships down in Virginia Beach, and so I had to tell all my lacrosse teammates, like, fellas, sorry, I'm gonna be missing this game against Cheshire this weekend, my bad. Gotta go. And they're all like, oh, you fag, you canary, you little, call me all sorts of names and stuff. And the irony in that was, and we won this, like, basically like 8-foot trophy for winning that thing, and it was a bigger trophy than I won in any sport. you know, ever in high school, college, or whatever. So I had a pretty good balanced life. I knew I wanted to sing, which I've always been able to continue to do, you know, on the scores of our movies with Happy Madison. And I've had bands off and on. I have a couple right now. But I didn't really, in high school, I started to focus more when I went to Hofstra. I did a postgraduate year down at Fort Union Military Academy. Not quite the fit for Pete Dante. Let's just say, you know, you had to be shaved and your shoes had to be shined every day, and you literally got bossed around by younger kids. So I got in a lot of trouble there. I got a lot of demerits. You would find me marching on weekends with my gun, my rifle that you couldn't even load. It was no firing pin, you know, old school rifle, marching back and forth in like 15 yards, going back and forth, because I was got in a lot of trouble over there. But that was also a good experience, going down south and playing football and lacrosse down there. Then when I went to Hofstra, and I also, I always sang. I sang at my graduation in high school. Sang Billy Joel's For the Longest Time with my solo choir backing me up. And then Fort Union, same thing. Ended up singing at my graduation there the next year for my PG year. And then at Hofstra, I majored in business management and I did a minor in drama. So I sort of knew then, like my lacrosse teammates, my roommates were all Americans, so they were all better than me. So they were a little bit more confident about lacrosse than I was. And I would say, well, don't worry about you getting All-American because you're going to have to pay to see me in the movies. And I would state this at like 4 a.m. at Dunkin' Donuts, 3 sheets to the wind, you know, while we're eating our bacon, egg, and cheese on the croissants. Like, yeah, dude, I'm glad you're All-American again this year, bro, because I'll be in the movies and it costs a lot to pay for the movies and popcorn and your date and all that. And literally to this day, when I go back to Hofstra to like help coach games, which they fortunately let me still come and do stuff like that, my teammates in the parking lot when I go out and hang out with them will be like, introduce me to their daughters and their sons and be like, this is Mr. Dante, or this is Peter Dante, and he used to tell us that we were going to have to pay to see him in the movies, and we do, don't we? And the kids were like, yeah, we do, Daddy. So weird that I did have that focus. That was my dream, you know, since I was in that age, and you know, thank God it happened. You know, it's one of those fortunate things you kind of say you're going to do and you actually follow through and do.
What was your relationship with females like when you were younger?
Well, you know, it's funny because at the beginning of since I had 3 sisters, I had my eldest one wasn't so much into relationships. She hung out with her friends a lot more. My middle sister, Michelle, had dated her boyfriend since 7th or 8th grade, and he's a guy who I played lacrosse with in the summers and had a very close relationship. Now they have 4 kids together. They're still married. At the beginning, I'd fall in love real easy. Like, I'd go away on vacation to the Jersey Shore where my cousins had a house, and I'd go to Atlantic City or whatever, and I'd meet some girl from India, you know. I can't remember her name, but there was a distinct girl from India that I remember meeting, and I'd fall in love with them and be like, oh, let's keep in touch and write letters. And kind of corny, definitely at the beginning, you know. And there's a girl named Debbie Del Mastro who's still around back in Connecticut. She was my first kind of love in high school. I remember getting dumped by her and being devastated by it, you know, very, you know, sad thing. But she ended up dating one of my great friends, Paul Haggerty, who was a hockey player, who he was a great kid, so that was all good. After that relationship, and then kind of in high school, I what would you say, didn't date often, but hung out with a lot of different chicks. I was much more about hanging out with my boys, you know, my teammates, my friends, my buddies in choir, you know. I wouldn't say bros before hoes because I don't call girls hoes, but I just think that you find a lot more loyalty with your friends and being friends with girls too. I think that a great friendship with a girl can be had by a dude who doesn't have intentions to sleep with the girl. If you laugh with a girl like you laugh with a guy, she can be your home girl too, you know, just like your homies are, you know. So I was much more focused on hanging out with my friends always than kind of the chicks. Not that I lacked hanging out with chicks. There was always 1 or 5 around to hang out with, you know. And yeah, same thing in college. I had 2 specific girlfriends. One girl named Marianne Balzano, who was a cheerleader. She, you know, of course, when you're dating a year in college, you think you're going to get married. And you're like, then you think about that, and you're like, no, not an option. and dated another girl in college also for a little time. This girl named Lucia. She was nice. It was fun. But there was all sorts of crazy stories. Having lacrosse teammates and hanging out with the football team that I was on my freshman year but quit at Hofstra. We always had crazy stories. You know, we always were out with groups of guys just doing crazy stuff. Talk about getting in trouble off the field in lacrosse. There was one time when I was a freshman, and we were all hanging out at this bar, and a kid whipped a shot glass over at one of my teammates, and it just missed him and hit the wall. And we all went outside, and my one teammate steps up, and this dude was big. He was a large human being, and he shattered my friend's jaw like with one punch. Kenny Curry, this kid from Syracuse, gets up, and he starts getting ready to box this guy, and then boom, again, he gets smashed. And I'm looking at my teammates like, wait a minute, no one's helping, right? So the way I was raised to help my friends, back up my friends. So I came running out of nowhere and blasted this guy from behind, and I just thought I was doing the right thing, you know. And obviously that didn't work out because I got suspended for a few games in lacrosse. We were all warming up, stretching for I think the game against Hobart, or I don't even know what game. And the coach was like, "Hey, all your teammates told me that you beat this guy up," and I was like, "Well, did they tell you? Look at this guy whose jaw's wired shut. Look at that guy whose nose is broken. Didn't they tell you the part of that I was sticking up for our team, basically, you know?" So, I mean, that was kind of crazy because you didn't realize that you were going to get suspended for a few games for doing stuff like that. And then you jump on this bus to go out together, and the fights and the stuff that would happen, the shit that would happen on that bus. I wish we had phones. Then again, I don't wish we had phones like that. But at certain points, you wish you had phones like the iPhones and the Samsung Galaxies and stuff now because, dude, if we had some of that stuff on video now, kids would be like, you guys really did shit. I mean, I know stuff goes down similar at SDSU, the Aztecs, where I ended up transferring to, and many other schools, but yet there was no videoing of anything, you know, so there was a lot of not recalling what happened and people having to tell you what you did or whatever, you know. You know, you keep in touch with whoever you can. I basically always see people when I see them more often than not because I'm a dad and I'm busy with stuff. And I always say to friends, if I haven't kept in touch with you, friends or family, it's, you know, not because I don't want to, it's more because life gets busy and I'm not one of those people who's just going to call randomly and check in unless I think that you're in need of a call or whatever. And I always pick up where we left off, you know. I can see someone 15 years later and be like, bro, what's up? Oh my God, how you been? And you can catch up in a day, you know, and you can catch up in a night, basically. So there's a bunch I keep in touch with, and there's a bunch that I, like, you know, hear about often.